having been a part of the free Kent Hovind movement, so to speak, I do believe that there was, for lack of a better word, an evolution in our midst. It was interesting to go through it because it started out as just, there was no one. I mean, when Kent Hovind went to jail the first time, 10 years ago, it was like people forgot about him. He was this international evangelist who was traveling every day practically, and then suddenly, who's Kent Hovind?
Do you think that was because of the nature of the first charges against him, the tax charges?
Oh, definitely.
You think that other churches decided that they really couldn't commit themselves to Kent Hovind because they didn't want to have, for example, maybe the IRS taking a scrutiny of them that they didn't want?
I think that is dead on. I think they were hesitant because they saw this as a liability issue. If they are too closely aligned with him, whereas before, when he was free, hey, come over to our church, give a talk about dinosaurs. But now you're taking on the government, and that's a big no-no. And I think that honestly goes back to the issue that Kent Hovind talked about, which was 501c3 incorporation, which I won't get into that too much, but essentially the argument is churches don't need to incorporate as nonprofits. They're already nonprofits. They're already ministries of God. They need to answer to God. They don't need to incorporate under the state as a creature of the state, because to do so essentially muzzles them. And that's what Kent Hovind has been saying, and I think we're seeing a lot of that because when he went away, they thought, well, if I speak on a political issue like this, if we take a political stand, we could have our IRS tax exemption status revoked, maybe an investigation, maybe an audit, who knows?
This is true. But, it's really interesting, looking back at the Kent Hovind, the movement to free Kent Hovind, it really doesn't seem to have gotten started up until very early this year.
Exactly.
And I think, would you say that Rudy Davis was a catalyst of that?
Rudy Davis was a tornado. Rudy Davis came out of nowhere. I was in contact with Kent Hovind. I mean, I worked for the Hovinds for some time, and then I wasn't really in contact with them for a while. And then, boom, I hear he's being indicted. There's going to be another trial. He's now in my hometown, or my county. And so I went to see him. I started talking with him, asking how I could help. What could I do? There was no movement at this point. There was no free Kent Hovind movement. And so I'm just kind of trying to run a few errands for him and so on and so forth. And then he says, hey, there's this guy named Rudy Davis. And he, give him a call. He wants to help. I don't know what he can do, but I'm sure we can find something for him. And at that time, it was helping him put some books out because, Kent Hovind's been writing ever since he went away, and he's wanting someone to help him publish his books. So I said, all right, Rudy, can you help out? And he was like, boy, I just want to help. I just want to help right away. And he just jumped in with both feet. And before we knew it, he had kind of become the spokesman, so to speak, for the free Kent Hovind movement. And it was neat because it was almost like God had raised him up for this cause, because at the moment when we needed all of these little factions, all of these people who were just scratching their head wondering what they could do, Rudy Davis was there to start sending out all those videos on his YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And just every time something happened, he was throwing out an update. And of course, that accelerated as we went into that trial back in March. And when we went into the trial, I think that's when it proved that Rudy Davis was possibly the most committed man to this cause, but there were plenty of others who were playing backup roles, of course.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that some of Rudy's videos were a little bit rough? I know I got called Jezebel once on a video, but that was nothing compared to the judge. She was called Jezebel numerous times. Tiffany Eggers, the prosecutor, was called a Jezebel. Some other people got called names. I mean, I've been called names before. Scientology's called me some pretty bad names in the past. So this was like more of the same. But do you think that might have hurt?
Well, you have to understand our perspective. This has been a dirty fight from the beginning from our perspective. We've always felt that this was, that people weren't fighting fair, that the system wasn't fighting fair with us. And so I don't know all the details. I didn't listen to every video that he put out. I do remember him using the term Jezebel spirit for the judge. And I actually agree with him on that. I think she is extremely biased, extremely unfair, but that's neither here nor there. I think the issue is, did he make inroads with people he could have made inroads with? Possibly not. But you have to realize, we were under the gun, we were scared, we were a little off balance, and we were kind of playing catch up.
If the trial had gone off as they had expected it to late last year, none of this would have happened, I don't think.